Mount Everest stands as Earth's highest peak, a formidable monument of ice and stone, rising to an altitude of 8,848 meters. For over a century, this mountain has tested the will, skill, and endurance of climbers from across the globe. But not every climber returns. Today, we remember some of the most famous deaths on Everest. George Mallory, when asked why he wanted to climb Mount Everest, Mallory replied, "Because it's there." In 1924, Mallory and his partner Andrew Irvine attempted to summit Everest using primitive equipment and no bottled oxygen. They were last seen alive just a few hundred meters from the top, then disappeared into a snowstorm. For 75 years, no one knew what happened. In 1999, Mallory's body was discovered, face down, perfectly preserved in the ice at 26,760 feet. He had a rope injury around his waist and a broken leg, likely from a fall during the descent. Whether he reached the summit before dying remains one of Everest's greatest mysteries. His body remains on the mountain. Rob Hawley. In May 1996, Rob Hall led a commercial expedition to Everest under his company, Adventure Consultants. He was a highly respected New Zealander, known for getting his clients to the summit safely. That spring, Everest was crowded with climbers from multiple teams. Hall's group included a man named Doug Hansen, a postal worker who had attempted Everest with Rob the previous year, but had turned back just short of the summit. This year, Doug wanted redemption. On May 10th, Hall and Hansen reached the summit, but they did so dangerously late, around 2:45 p.m. That broke Everest's most important safety rule: turn around by 2 p.m., no matter how close you are to the summit. Weather on Everest shifts quickly, and every minute past the turnaround time increases the risk of getting caught in storms, darkness, or both. On the descent, Hansen collapsed near the Hillary step, unable to continue. Hall refused to abandon him. As the storm closed in, Hall radioed base camp, exhausted, stranded, running out of oxygen. He made a final satellite phone call to his pregnant wife, Jan Arnold, in New Zealand. "Sleep well, my sweetheart. Please don't worry too much." Scott Fischer. Fischer was one of the most charismatic and daring climbers on the mountain in 1996. He led the Mountain Madness expedition, a rival team to Rob Hall's Adventure Consultants. Fischer was strong, athletic, and bold. He had summited Everest before, and was known for climbing without bottled oxygen, a point of pride, and a personal philosophy. But that year, he pushed himself too far. In the days before summit night, Fischer had already shown signs of exhaustion and possible altitude sickness. He was reportedly slurred in speech, physically drained, and lagging behind his team, an alarming sign for such an experienced climber. As his clients moved up the mountain, Fischer struggled alone behind them. His head guide, Anatoly Bukreyev, descended quickly from the summit after assisting clients, following his belief that he could help more people from below, rested and ready. But Fischer never regained strength. On the descent, he collapsed near the south summit, disoriented and barely conscious. That night, Anatoly returned through the storm to try to rescue him, but found him unable to move, suffering from high-altitude cerebral edema, fluid in the brain caused by the extreme altitude. When Fischer was found the next day, he had begun removing his clothing, a tragic sign of paradoxical undressing, a terminal symptom of hypothermia where the brain misinterprets freezing as overheating. Scott Fischer died just below the summit. His body remains there, draped in a down suit, watched over by prayer flags. Sleeping Beauty, Frances Arsentieff was a mother, a climber, and a dreamer. In May 1998, she set out to make history, to become the first American woman to reach the summit of Everest without bottled oxygen. She climbed alongside her husband, Sergei Arsentieff, a fellow mountaineer who deeply admired her quiet strength. On May 22, Frances reached the top. She had done it, she made history. But the descent was a nightmare. The couple became separated in the darkness. Frances spent the night alone above 8,000 meters, the death zone. She survived the first night. But when climbers found her the next morning, she was barely alive. Frostbitten. Disoriented. Whispering. Frances died where she lay, just beneath the summit, in a patch of snow with the sky stretching above. Her face, pale and serene in death, led other climbers to nickname her Sleeping Beauty. Her husband, Sergei, had gone back up the mountain looking for her, and never returned. His ice axe and rope were found near her body days later. David Sharp. In 2006, British climber David Sharp set out to summit Everest, alone, through the north face, on the Tibetan side of the mountain. No Sherpa. No support team. Just a few oxygen canisters and a minimalist mindset. Sharp was soft-spoken and intelligent, but this climb was deeply risky. On May 15, he reached the summit, but on the descent, something went wrong. He ran out of oxygen and collapsed inside a rocky limestone alcove near 8,500 meters, known grimly as Green Boots Cave. He was emaciated, severely frostbitten, and barely conscious, slumped near the body of another climber who had died years earlier. Over 40 climbers passed him that day. Some assumed he was dead. Others filmed him. One of them, Mark Inglis, later confirmed seeing Sharp alive, struggling to breathe, unable to move. The footage that exists is chilling, a climber, frozen in place, still breathing. As others walk past. Sharp died alone that night. The outrage that followed sparked a global debate. Had Everest become a place where summits mattered more than saving a life? Mount Everest doesn't forgive mistakes. It doesn't care about ambition, legacy, or fame. Above 8,000 meters, the mountain rules, and those who challenge it walk a razor's edge between glory and tragedy. These stories remind us, the price of reaching the top can be everything. And on Everest, some dreams are buried in ice.